Choosing the right school for your child is really about choosing a community that will support your student to let their light shine.
It's about choosing a place with supportive values like compassion, wisdom, and respect.
Finding a place with opportunities across academics, sport, the arts, leadership, and spiritual and emotional development.
It's about a location surrounded by nature, from the beaches to the rainforest.
We're close enough to the city to open up a world of travel and opportunity.
It's about feeling like your family is part of something bigger.
Hello and welcome to Lindisfarne Anglican Grammar School. My name's Sam and this is Tori, and we're the Lindisfarne School Captains. Lindisfarne is an aspirational school that educates students from the southern Gold Coast, the Tweed Coast and northern New South Wales.
And in a location as perfect as this, just south of the Gold Coast, on the border of New South Wales and Queensland, you can see why the students who learn here each day embrace the Lindisfarne way.
Nestled in the Tweed Heads district of northern New South Wales, our school offers opportunities few other schools can match.
Lindisfarne has junior, middle and senior schools, spread across 2 campuses located in Tweed Heads and Terranora. Students come here from Byron Bay in the south, less than an hour away, and across the border from the Gold Coast in the north.
We're just 20 minutes from the surf and the natural mangrove waters of our school's off-grid boathouse, which gives all of us, as students, some incredible opportunities to combine our mainstream studies with opportunities like marine and aquatic studies.
When I'm not in the science lab studying physics and chemistry, you can find me here on one of our sports ovals or in the gym keeping fit.
Our strong sports programs provide opportunities across a range of sports, with excellence programs in cricket and netball, plus specialist coaches in a range of sports like touch football, volleyball, AFL and athletics, plus a sports academy that helps our elite athletes reach their sporting goals through targeted programs and access to world champion and Olympic level athletes.
One of my sub
Hola, ¿qué tal amigos de Excelencia de Australia? Estamos iniciando esta nueva transmisión totalmente en vivo para todos ustedes. Y bueno, hoy es 17 de octubre, jueves, y son las 4:30 por acá. Y bueno, vamos a iniciar esta transmisión en vivo con Lindisfarne Anglican School. Y bueno, estamos muy contentos de que nos estén acompañando aquí en el en vivo. Y recuerdo que próximamente vamos a estar en sus ciudades. Entonces, para aquellos que nos están sintonizando de Colombia, Perú y Chile, les paso las fechas. Vamos a estar con Expo20 Australia el día 26 de octubre en el Ágora Centro de Convenciones en Bogotá, Colombia, de 11 de la mañana a 6 de la tarde. En Santiago de Chile, el día 29 de octubre en el Hotel Intercontinental de Santiago, de 2 de la tarde a 7 de la tarde, y concluimos esta gira el día 2 de noviembre en Lima, Perú. Y bueno, en Lima, Perú vamos a estar en el Hotel Westin Lima Hotel y Convention Center de 11 de la mañana a 6 de la tarde. Y estamos muy emocionados por estar próximamente con ustedes. Y bueno, les recuerdo que esta tarde, este día, vamos a tener 2 transmisiones en vivo, y esta la primera del día, que es con Lindisfarne Anglican School, y que es una escuela para aquellas personas que están buscando un colegio para sus hijos, o tal vez si ustedes están buscando dónde terminar los grados 11 o 12, bueno, pues Lindisfarne tiene para ustedes un curso, porque ellos tienen disponibilidad para alumnos desde la primaria hasta el grado 12. Entonces, si ya sea que ustedes tengan desde los 6 años hasta también, bueno, los 18 años, pueden encontrar aquí un espacio en la academia. Y bueno, ahora sí le doy la bienvenida a Janaya Mule y a Jeremy Godden, que nos están acompañando directo desde Australia. Hola, Jeremy. Hola, Janaya. Hi, how are you guys?
Well, thank you.
Very well, thank you. Good morning or good afternoon over in your part of the world. It's exciting to be here.
Thank you. So, para todos los que nos están acompañando, les recuerdo que en este momento esta transmisión va a ser en inglés, debido a que Jeremy y Janaya hablan inglés. Y bueno, si ustedes tienen preguntas, no duden en hacerme sus preguntas en español y yo las voy a traducir. Entonces, bueno, Jeremy and Janaya, please tell us a little bit about your school. Tell us about where it's located. And also, tell us a little bit about the video that we just saw.
Yeah, so thank you. As you saw in the video, we've got a beautiful location for our school. We're about 15 minutes from Gold Coast International Airport, an hour and a half south of Brisbane International Airport, situated right on the border between New South Wales and Queensland. We run the New South Wales curriculum, so the HSC curriculum for our senior students. but we draw our students from the Queensland side of the border as far south as Byron Bay and out to Murwillumbah. So we have a very large catchment for our students, and students come from far and wide to access our very wide range of programs and curriculum offerings that the school's able to provide. Hopefully you saw in the video that range of activities that students can participate in, from marine studies in our off-grid boathouse, which is about a 15-minute bus ride from the main campus, as well as sports and service facilities and activities that we're able to do.
Thank you very much for telling us a little bit about the school. And also, I have a question over here, and it's related to the age. What is the minimum age to be admitted into the high school?
So for high school, which would be year 7, which is part of our middle school, students, if they're coming out to stay with homestay, that would be from 13. If they're coming out to live with their family, they're able to come from 6 years old up. But if it's from homestay, it would be from 13.
Okay, that's very interesting to know. Also, what are the main requirements to be admitted in the high school? Let's say somebody that is 13 years old and would like to come to Australia and live this adventure.
Yeah, so we're looking for students to add value to our school. We're looking for students who have a fairly solid grasp of English, because we want them to be able to access the curriculum as soon as they arrive here. But we are looking for those students who, as a school, we're a school that values holistic education, and our co-curricular and extracurricular life is quite vibrant and wide-ranging. So someone who's going to come in and make the most of the opportunities and add value through those programs, not just in the classroom, but beyond the classroom as well.
That's a number of our current international students. We have one who's involved in our Surfing Australia High Performance Centre.
Wow.
Another one who's part of our basketball teams, another student who's just left who participated in rugby and netball and our school musical and guitar lessons. So there's a whole range of activities for the students to be involved in, and we're definitely looking for those students who want to participate in school life.
And quick question, given your experience with Latino students, how different is the curriculum from Australia to the curriculum that we see in South America?
Yeah, so our international program is very much still in its infancy. We actually started this in the months leading up to COVID, when the pandemic sort of shut down international travel and certainly international education. So we are renewing our efforts to bring these international cultures and international students into our school, because we know that they do add great value. The New South Wales curriculum is world renowned for its rigor and for its breadth and depth for students to be able to study, and can lead into some of the most amazing universities. So look, I'm not particularly well versed in South American curriculum, but I do know that the New South Wales curriculum is very well regarded worldwide, and we had students graduate from Lindisfarne and attend some of the best universities in Australia and indeed across the world as well.
So in other words, if a student comes to Lindisfarne, would they have an easier access to an Australian university once they graduate from your high school?
Yes, certainly. They definitely have great pathways into many of our universities. We actually have a memorandum of understanding in place with Southern Cross University, who is one of our educational neighbours. Their campus is about 15 minutes from our senior campus, and we have a great partnership with them where we share some resources, and we have opportunities for our students to access early university as well.
Okay, and what would be the main requirements for a international student from South America in order for them to be admitted into your programs? Like any language requirements, any grades? Do they have to comply with a certain grade?
Sorry. So you'll actually on the website, the Vente Australia website, we have there for the different year levels, the IELTS category. So from year 7, it is a 5.0, and then it does go up. However, with that, we look at the whole student. So if a student doesn't quite reach that level, we ask them to submit the application, their last 2 school reports, also a letter of recommendation. It's not necessary, but it is always nice to have as well. Once we receive that, we set the IDAT test, which is an online test for the student to sit at home. And we get the results of that back as well and review that. And even sometimes if the score isn't quite at level, we do an online interview as well, because as we said, we're not just we're after the whole student, someone who, may have more to offer than just those grades. So it's a little bit of, it's not a very rigid process. So we're open to looking at all students who, as Jeremy said, want to add value to the school.
Okay, and that's very interesting to know, because then it makes it a little bit easier to grasp or to understand that studying in a high school abroad is not that complicated.
Yeah, and we don't want people put off by, rigid language cutoffs. We want to be able to have a conversation with any applicants to see if it is suitable. We don't want students to come and be isolated and really struggle with their learning. But we also know that there's some great opportunities, with peers to learn conversationally, as well as access the English language support that we provide at the school as well.
Okay, thank you very much for that information. Also, I wanted to mention that Southern Cross University is also going to be participating in the fair. So for any parent that will be attending the fair in Bogota, Santiago, or in also Lima, that the Southern Cross will be participating. So in case you want to see what pathways are available for students that come to Lindisfarne, then they can pass on to Southern Cross. Also, I have a question over here.
Stephen, just on top of that, I did want to mention we have had a couple of students who haven't quite met the English language requirement for direct entry into mainstream, and they have come out and they have done an intensive language course in Australia. And then we reassess them once they've done, possibly it could be 10 to 20 weeks, just depending on what they need. Okay. And then they can come into mainstream classroom.
Okay. And when you say mainstream, what does that mean? If you can elaborate a little bit for us, that we may not be familiar with the Australian curriculum.
So they will be coming in with our domestic students in the classroom. They do have that English as an additional language support where they're taken out of the classroom and work with a teacher one-on-one or in a small group. But that mainstream is them coming in and sitting in the everyday classroom and doing the everyday timetable that the domestic students are doing.
Okay, thank you very much. And also, I have a question over here. How is the life of a high school student? What activities? You mentioned a couple of activities. And what are the main topics that they have on their day-to-day school?
So students, so students in years like 7 to 10 will have a range of core subjects. So they're mandated subjects that everybody will do, and they include things like English, maths, science, humanities, health and physical education. And they also have some electives or some specialist subjects on top of that as well that they can access. I think our last count was that we have about 30 different subjects that they can choose from, and students get an opportunity to select subjects in areas that they're passionate about or have a particular interest in. And they range from the arts, performing and creative arts, through to technical and trade skills, hospitality services, and a whole range of other subjects that sit within those other faculties. So history and geography, as well as, help me out, Janaea, what have I missed? Languages, French and Japanese are our core languages, and we're introducing Spanish for our beginning students next year. So that's an exciting thing as well.
So the opportunities as well with the performing arts side of things with students who choose music, we also have a recording studio and our own record label. So students who sort of follow the music pathway, we have them come in and they can write their own music, they can perform it, be part of producing it. So that there's lots of opportunities there for students who have that interest. Also, on top of that, sport. So every week, students from year 7 to 10 is compulsory to choose a sport. From year 11 and 12, they can choose if they want to. And each term, the sports do change, and it's a little bit different to other schools. They have an opportunity each term to choose a different sport. It could be surfing or learn to surf or mountain biking or yoga or volleyball or water polo. There's how many sports would you say?
26 different sports to choose from. I have twin daughters who are in year 7. I have one of them who chose beach walking and one who is doing horse riding. So
wow,
a very broad range of sports that cater to a very broad range of interests.
So given that you mentioned a lot of water sports, are you guys close to the water?
Yes. Yeah, we're our campus is about it's about a 12-minute drive from some of the best surf beaches in the world.
Wow!
And we have a partnership with Surfing Australia. So the High Performance Centre for Surfing Australia is located right on our doorstep. So we have a great partnership with them, and through that we have learn to surf programs from very beginners all the way through to programs catering to our junior world champions that we've had come through the school as well.
Wow, amazing.
It's a very unique location. Our campus is quite tropical. In some areas, we've got a rainforest and outdoor classroom down the bottom of the campus. And then we go out to the beaches as well. So, and certainly the mangrove waterways that our boathouse sits on as well provide great access for water sports and sort of marine studies education.
Yeah, with that as well, we're close to the Queensland border, so 10 minutes away from there. So we also access the Gold Coast. So the Gold Coast, it's got all the theme parks as well in Australia. So it's the tourist destination of Australia.
Well, I was going to ask what were the more popular extracurricular activities, but I kind of imagine which ones they are. I imagine it's surfing.
Yeah.
I don't know if you can please elaborate.
Yeah, lots of surfing, lots and lots of surfing and other water sports. But in terms of sport and extracurricular sort of parallel to the school, our community has a very strong rugby presence. We also have rugby league, soccer or football is huge in this area as well as hockey. Our school has 17 teams in the local netball competition and just over a dozen teams in the Southern Gold Coast basketball competition. So sport is very big. And as Janaea mentioned before, our music and performing arts programs are quite significant as well. Across our school, we actually have around about 850 private music or performing arts lessons that happen per week. And students have great opportunities to take those skills and use their gifts in performances across the 2 campuses and within the community as well.
Amazing. I'm having more questions over here from Ersin Sanaga. Does the school have resources and programs specifically for international students?
Yes, we do. We provide certainly our English language support is there for our international students. But our ultimate aim for our international students is to join in with our domestic students and just embrace what the school has to offer, more than just the school, what the community has to offer, which is one of the main reasons that we use a homestay program rather than boarding. We want our school, our students, our international students to experience family life here on the Tweed Coast as well, which is an amazing part of life at Lindisfarne. We're a very social school, so we have lots of events and invite lots of people and parents to do different things. So, it's a very common occurrence to have parents, very closely engaged with many aspects of the school.
So, if I'm understanding correctly, some parents also go to Australia while they bring in their children over to Lindisfarne. Is that the way that I'm understanding it works with some international students?
We are seeing that. We are seeing some families come out together, but I'm speaking more about our homestay family where a student will travel by themselves to come to Australia, and we work with a group called Study Match to find a lovely family who will host that student, ideally for a long term. So that they become part of the fabric of the family and of the school.
And I imagine that these families are used to receiving international students, especially from such a young age, and that they are used to receiving these international students all the time, right?
Yes, that's right. And some of them have different levels of experience in doing that, but they all have a particular interest in and passion for hosting international students.
I have a question here. Is there a curfew for students for whenever students need to arrive at home, or that depends on each house? Also, do they have any autonomy on their own?
They do
depend on the rules of each household.
That's a really good question, and it depends a lot on the age, and a lot of that happens in the early stages of the homestay arrangement, where the family at home in South America would communicate with the homestay agency and set some guidelines, and that would then be part of the selection process for the homestay family here in Australia. And of course, the family's expectations and rules within the homestay household are clearly discussed and appropriate as well. So while there certainly is the international students that we've had go and have a full teenage lifestyle, where they go to the shops with their friends, or they go to the movies and go to different social activities like parties at other people's houses and things like that. So it's certainly a very open and very flexible way of doing schooling here in Australia.
Okay. Honestly, thank you very much for all of that information. And these are questions that prospective parents would, of course, have, because they are sending their children that are at a young age. Have you ever dealt with I imagine that you've dealt with Latino parents in the past, but you know that Latino parents are very used to having their kids close and tight. These are tight-knit families. So they might experience this missing their children and also being afraid of sending their children abroad. Do you have any reassurances for these parents as to that their kids will actually have an amazing experience in Australia?
Well, I think, with the homestay selection, we select families and work with families, and we try to select Lindisfarne families as well, or usually they are in the local area, but selecting families who want that student to be part of their family. It's another child for them, and that's what we talk through with them. It is very different to then hosting students who are at university or English language schools. With hosting a high school student. So pretty much we select families who want to nurture the student as though they're one of their own.
Amazing. I have a question here from our audience. What teaching methods are commonly used? Is it interactive or project-based learning?
Combination of those things, actually. We utilize explicit teaching methods for core content. So that students understand the skills and the knowledge that they need to use, but we're very strongly focused on the application of that knowledge as well. So project-based learning does happen in different areas of the school. It is quite interactive, lots of conversation that happens around particular topics, and it's not uncommon to see students out and about in the school grounds taking their learning beyond the walls of the classroom.
Amazing. I have a question over here. Do you offer scholarships or any financial aid for international students?
Not sorry, not for international students, no.
Okay. And right now, what would be the entrance fees or admittance fees for international students, especially for students coming from Colombia, Peru, or Chile? Because these are questions that they will have.
The fees for
Tuition fees for
Tuition fees.
Yeah. For senior high school is around about $25,000 Australian per year. And that, on top of that, depending on the needs of the student as well, there will be the homestay fees as well, which has just changed.
So $440.
$440 a week for the homestay. So my apologies. Year 7 and 8 is 28,000. 28,000. That goes up to 30,000 for year 11 and 12.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much. I have a question here. What is the process for integrating Latin students into the school's academic and social life?
So in terms, we have a range of people who are here to support new students. Our pastoral care structures allow for new students of all nationalities, and whether they're domestic students coming in or international students, we have a strong focus on integrating them to the Lindisfarne way and to introduce them socially to their peers as well. In the middle school, which for our international students is predominantly years 7 and 8, we have a horizontal structure, so they have only year 7 students in their classes, in their pastoral care classes, because the age and stage of development requires them to have some fairly specific introduction and some fairly specific pastoral care education. When they move into the senior school, they'll have students from years 9 through to 12 in their tutor groups, so in those pastoral care groups, where they learn from each other and learn from the experience of our senior students. So there are lots of avenues for students to be integrated, and lots of personnel. So from the house tutor, teacher, through to the head of house, we've got a dean of students, we've got a range of learning enrichment staff, and of course, our very caring staff across the whole school work really hard to make sure that the pastoral care and wellbeing needs of all of our students are met, to make sure that their educational progress can be as positive as we can make it.
When they initially start, they have a specific orientation morning for international students. They're also given a buddy who, especially in that first week, to help them navigate the school, finding their classrooms at that morning tea and lunch break, to make sure that, they've got someone to sit with them and to show them around the school. So they are very supported, especially when they start, just while they find their feet and then find their people.
Amazing. So I have one last question. What is something that that international students are often surprised by when they arrive at Lindisfarne?
I think they're very surprised by our location and the geography of the place. We're a very open, spacious place to learn. And I think the breadth of opportunity that they get through the school is something that's quite surprising as well. A lot of our students have indicated, a fairly narrow field of learning that they've had access to, whereas at Lindisfarne, we want that to be nice and open, so that students can follow their passions and work in areas that they're really interested in, because we know that that's what is going to allow them to do their best.
Okay, well, thank you very much for being with us in this webinar and agreeing to this webinar. I do not know if you guys have a last message for everybody that is watching us, either on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, or YouTube.
We're excited about this. We jumped at the opportunity to open our school and introduce our school to the Latin American market. I've worked in previous schools which have had a strong South American presence through their international program. So I know that, in terms of generalized personalities and the cultural approach that we can offer at Lindisfarne is certainly something that I consider would really nicely align with a number of students from South America. We're excited about bringing multiple cultures and nationalities into our school because, you know, we know that that is something that our students will benefit from, and we'd love to share what we've got at Lindisfarne with students from Latin America. So I look forward to seeing everybody. Hopefully we get to see you and meet you in person, whether that's in Bogota, Lima, or Santiago in the coming weeks.
Amazing. Well, thank you very much, Jeremy and Janaya, for being with us in this webinar. Y muchísimas gracias a todos los que nos acompañaron. Esto es todo por este webinar que tuvimos con Lindisfarne Anglican Grammar School. Y bueno, pues muchas gracias. Si ustedes tienen más preguntas, recuerden que nos pueden mandar preguntas al privado y con mucho gusto les apoyaremos para dirigirlas a los representantes de la institución. Y también recuerden que próximamente Expo20 Australia va a estar en su ciudad. Entonces vamos a estar el día 26 de octubre en el Ágora Centro de Convenciones en Bogotá, 29 de octubre en Santiago de Chile y el día 2 de noviembre en Lima, Perú. Recuerden que registrarse y asistir a la expo es totalmente gratis y solo deben de hacerlo en nuestra página web www.20australia.com. Bueno, pues muchísimas gracias a todos por acompañarnos. Thank you, Jeremy and Janaya, for joining us in this webinar, and we are excited to see you next week.
Absolute pleasure, Stephen. Thank you for having us.
Thank you. Muchísimas gracias a todos y que tengan una bonita tarde. Nos vemos a la próxima.